You're listening to the Well Woman podcast. I'm your host, Gemma Lee, women's menstrual cycle educator, natural fertility coach, and daytime mermaid. This is a place where we discuss all things periods, poo, ovulation, fertility, and sex. Join me weekly as we rediscover our menstrual cycles, unlock its superpowers, and guide you back into your cyclical nature. Mel, welcome back to the Well Woman podcast.
Yee, thanks for having me back. What a treat.
You are so welcome. And I'm really excited because this is our first chat since you've had a little bub. And we are talking about menstruation. So tell us, I've got to laugh as I ask this question. Tell us, what day of your cycle are you on and how are you checking in today?
Well, Gemma, I'm on day cycle 520 and I'm feeling confused with my hormones. No. I actually feel really good. To be honest, I feel two ways about being on cycle day 520. Part of me craves my period back so I can get back into knowing my inner rhythms. And then another part is like, do you know what? It's actually quite nice to not have a period right now whilst being a mama. You know, I don't have the opportunity to go deep into like a big bleed all my winter right now as a mum. So I feel kind of neutral about it.
Here I am listening to you be like, I am having serious mofo. Like, I'm just returning my blood to the earth and giving myself a face mask. And I'm like, seriously, stop. Especially because I talk so much about this with so many people, but it's interesting, isn't it? How was your transition? Just jumping straight in and asking, okay, how was your transition within the first few months of pregnancy? And this is a menstrual series. We're not at the pregnancy series yet. But what was it like for you, the first few months, going from being this cyclical woman, you know, a large percentage of your life, to then all of a sudden be like, I don't have a compass anymore. Like, what was that for you? Like, how did that feel for you?
Super confusing. Like, you know, a lot of my planning, a lot of my that in the compass, as you say, is like, oh, well, I'm feeling like this because of this. And like, yes, I could say, well, I'm feeling like this because I'm now pregnant, but I'm a bit of a control freak. So I love predictability. You know, I'm like, well, I'm being an asshole because I'm in my luteal phase, you know, or like I'm feeling horny because I'm here. And not having that was like, okay, I don't know how long this is going to last. I'm just going to ride this one out. So I definitely had to bring in different tools and a lot of patience. But yeah, I guess you get used to it, right? You get used to it, and your cervical mucus is changing, and it's like, well, this can't be fertile mucus because I'm pregnant. What is it?
My cervical plug is like 4 times the size of what it normally is. Where is this shit coming from? Oh, it's so true. And for those who don't know you, who have not listened to your previous episode on our podcast, let's just learn a little bit about you. I think that's a really great place to start. But like, who are you? What is it that you do? And how do you like to service the world when you're not servicing the world as a mum?
So I'm Melissa Branges. I'm a certified holistic sex coach. I work with women who want to feel sexually empowered and liberated in their bodies and in the bedroom. And this is definitely something I'm deeply passionate about, is giving women the tools to access more pleasure in their bodies, to be more embodied in the bedroom, to communicate well, to feel ecstatic, to feel alive in their bodies, to have lots of goddamn orgasms. That is definitely how I service the world and women. That's a little bit about what I do in a short, tiny, like micro crumb of a second.
A little drop in the pond. And I think I'm really glad that you shared that. And this is why I asked, is because when you are no longer on your menstrual cycle, there's a big difference especially during pregnancy, also during like perimenopause, menopause, between having this lush cervical mucus, which adds to the amplification of libido, that you just don't get when you're pregnant or when you're like menopausal, because all of a sudden your crept glands are no longer in this epic production mode when your cervix is migrating north to like open and soften, ready for this high peak of ovulation. So
Totally.
how did you navigate that as you transition from being a menstruator into this new version of yourself?
I think a lot of it comes with compassion. So I shared this openly on my social media. In my first trimester, I was very sexually alive and activated, and I felt like my libido was just like, come here, must do again. I've turned into a caveman. And then it started kind of waning off. And my first initial thought was, oh, how long is this going to last? Like, surely not the rest of my pregnancy. And it did. I didn't really have a high libido. It actually, I found myself not orgasming the way I could. I couldn't access cervical orgasms when, like, later in my pregnancy. It was super interesting. So yeah, it was definitely confronting at times, like the sex coach who doesn't have sex, but also it happened. But also,
like, a menstrual cycle coach who doesn't have a menstrual cycle.
yeah. But then it just allowed me to go deeper into what intimacy really is with myself and my partner. You know, I think all of these like moments, big moments in times that definitely bring up confronting topics. It's like, cool, well, what next? Like, what are you going to do to actually deepen this without, you know, X, without this part, without your period, without your sex drive? What are you going to do now? So yeah, it was fun to navigate. And obviously I learned so much that I could then share with other women. But yeah, just lots of compassion and slowness and zooming out to create a new story around your sexuality or your sex drive or play, pleasure, libido.
Yeah. And it can look like so many more things than just penetrative penis vagina sex if you're heterosexual. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is so interesting. Thank you for sharing. Let's talk about let's talk about menstruation and what do you miss? I'm kidding. Let's talk
everything.
Like everything. I miss the ability to yoni steam, but like, well, right now during pregnancy you can't do that, which is really frustrating. Also surrendering in all surrender. But what was your first initiation into the menstrual cycle, whether that was your first bleed or the first talk or the first education point? But how did you go transitioning from being this young version of the maiden to into this menstrual maiden?
You know what? I feel so proud about the experience that I have. Bless my mum and my dad. I remember, and it is so vivid to me, like many young menstruators, I remember going to the bathroom and looking down and seeing blood. I was like, oh my God, what? And then I was like, oh, no, I heard about this in school because I was a late menstruator. So we had the chat at school. Part of me felt a little bit shameful that I hadn't started bleeding yet. It was like, oh no, like a lot of my friends have their periods. I'm not a real woman. I don't have that yet. So yeah, being a late bloomer, I definitely had a bit of shame around that. And then I got my period. And I did the old get lots of toilet paper, wrap it around your hand, take it out and put it in.
Who hasn't done that?
Oh my gosh.
Adult before.
Absolutely. It's a must if you haven't tried it. But yeah, did that, walked out, and I was like, Mum, she was in the bedroom with Dad. It was in the morning. I was like, Mum, I need to talk to you. And she came out and I was like, I think I had my period. And she was like, love, that's incredible. Congratulations. Welcome to womanhood. And just fully celebrated me. I was like, don't tell Dad, okay? Don't tell Dad. She's like, okay, love. But then
of course she's going to tell your dad.
Yeah, she was stoked. And then yeah, later on Dad came out and he was like, Melissa, I just want to congratulate you for getting your period. That's incredible. Like, welcome to being a woman. And I was like, shush, it's so embarrassing. Don't. But looking back on it now, like, fucking beautiful. What an incredible initiation as a young woman to be congratulated and welcomed into womanhood in that way. I got to go down the road and pick up some pads, and I selected some tampons, which I couldn't use for the first like 6 months anyway. That's another story. Who hasn't done aerobics trying to get a tampon in?
How high on the wall can I get my leg? Oh God, so
God.
funny. Yep.
So high. But yeah, that was my initiation. It was, I was really celebrated for entering this part of my life as a woman. So yeah, I only look back with really fond memories and so much gratitude for my mum doing that.
What an honor. And also your dad too, you know, particularly the era of time that would have occurred in. Very rare for a man to step up to be like, congratulations, you know, this is a beautiful process and this is a beautiful step for you into womanhood. I think more men maybe today are a little bit more aware of that if they've got aware women as partners or sisters or friends. But yeah, very rare. So I'm like, so like kudos to your dad. Yeah, dad.
Big time. I
Yeah.
know. And I mean, he was brought up in a really conservative family with 3 brothers. Like, he didn't have a sister. So I just think, yeah, amazing, amazing, amazing.
That's really beautiful. And
Mm.
thanks for sharing that you're a late bloomer, because I also can resonate. I was the last of my friends, and there's a whole thing around that, being an early menstruator in your friend circle versus being one of the later menstruators in your friend circle. But after you did get that first initial menstruation, and your mum sounds like she did a beautiful process with you, which is so nice and lovely. What was your first few years of menstruating like? Did you enjoy these? Was there challenges? Like, what did you learn about your body? Was there resistance?
Mm. I think I felt definitely a little disgusted at times. It was like, you know, feeling a pad between your legs and your knickers was just like, oh my God, this is gross. Is this what it feels like? Is this what I'm going to be? I remember walking down the hallway at school with a pad on, and it was obviously full, and being like, wow, I have to wear this thing for the rest of my life. Like, this is what all women do. This is fucked up. You know, it's like, I was disappointed.
As you walk, and your legs like move through your school skirt. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, this is disappointing that I have to do this. Why can't men do this? What do they have to do? You know, tit for tat kind of energy. But I remember definitely like feeling overwhelmed at the fact that I had to do this every single month. I learned a lot about, I guess, taking more care of my body in the first couple of years, but even then, like, care, what that was back then looks completely different now. Confusing, right? I mentioned about
I want to ask, what was care? Because I'm getting a flash of you like ripping the sealed section of the Dolly magazine, being so keen to read.
Yeah. Well, did you say what was what?
What was your care like? When you
Yeah.
What was your care?
I think mostly it was probably more hygienic care. Like, okay, I've got to change this pad like every couple of hours. Got to make sure that I have showers every single day or twice a day. You know, it was like getting more in tune with that. Not like I never showered during the day, but it was like, I don't want to smell. You know, I think that was a big part. Like, I need to care for myself. I need to do that. I definitely don't mean care like meditating on my vagina or things like that. I was
naked outside in the ground.
Yeah, definitely wasn't there yet.
No,
but
that's really good. That's good insight as a teenager, like early adult. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, I think, and care of pretending like I actually didn't have a period. It was like, okay, how can I hide the fact that I have a period? That's what I, you know, thought care was as well. It's like, hide it from the world. So yeah, I learned a lot, but also I think a lot of I because it wasn't an openly spoken about topic back then, it was like, don't ask any questions. I should just be able to put a tampon up. Like, why doesn't it go up? You know, I should
Where
just
does
be,
it go?
yeah, what hole? No,
There's more than one? Huh? What are you talking about?
Like, it's just, yeah, I think you quickly start to learn that actually everyone else is going through the same thing. You know, you had that bestie, and I was like, oh my God, I put 2 tampons in today. I didn't realize I had another one. She was like, don't worry, I've done that too. So you soon start to create, I think, a deeper sisterhood around the chat of your periods when you talk kind of about the fails that had happened and what you're going through.
So beautiful. So beautiful. And it's really humbling because we all think and feel the same things, but often we don't discuss them or share them, with others. And, we've had guests where they couldn't talk to anybody, about it versus, people who can and they feel open about it. And I'm really excited to hear that you had, quite a very healthy and stable transition into that, which is so nice and so refreshing that people listening to this can know that there is other ways. If you didn't have that experience, it can be a different way.
I completely agree. And for us as women, if we have daughters, I have a son, but if I do have a daughter, I will 100% do exactly what my mum did for me, even more so, like I'm talking ceremony around a fire kind of shit. But
all the things.
Yeah, all the things. So yeah, it's beautiful.
I love that. I really love that. And just on the fact of having a son, my bestie has a son too, and I've got 2 nephews. But the first initiation for boys, do you know what the boys' initiation is into manhood?
No, what?
It's their first wet dream.
Right.
Yeah. So their first wet dream, like that's a celebration of manhood. And in Indigenous culture in Australia, so Aboriginal Indigenous culture, that was the initiation that they were men or becoming men.
Oh my
They
gosh,
were no longer
great.
considered just boys. And so I'm a really big advocate for people who have sons, is that we need men in the world that advocate and support women. I know not everyone's a heterosexual, but moving forward, if you choose to be a heterosexual, regardless of whether you do that with a partner or you just have friends who are of the opposite sex, having men that can support women is what the world also needs. It's not just the women rising to the knowledge and acknowledgement of their own menstrual cycle and menstruation and the cyclical nature of that, but it's also having men who can honor that and, really hold their women in a beautiful space while they transition from phase to phase. And I think
100%.
that boys today, and I'm so, your son's going to have such an amazing experience in becoming that man because of the, the parents, I don't know, you guys are. So there's always great opportunities regardless of the sex that we're born into, whether we have that lived experience or not, but the mothers can share that experience with their sons.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to teach Sol all about the menstrual cycle. And if he chooses to be with a woman or a man, whatever, this knowledge is going to stay with him. Like I'm so excited to bring up a conscious little dude who can really hold other women in that space.
Hear ye, sister. Hear ye. These men.
Yeah, I agree.
So you mentioned products earlier about your tampon experience. So is that, let's talk about your tampon experience, and then let's transition to like, what are your chosen products now? Like when it comes to, I know it's a bit different because you're still hardcore, maybe hardcore is not the right word, but solid committed to the breastfeeding journey. And so your cycle hasn't fully returned yet.
Yes.
But when it comes to products, what has been your transition of products?
So do we want to talk about the products that I used when I started or just what I use now?
Both. Let's talk about both.
Okay. So when I started bleeding for the first time, pads was the most accessible thing that I didn't have to try and like manipulate into my vagina. So just that visual. I'm sorry, everyone.
No, that was a great word. That's a really good description. Manipulate. Yes. Maneuver.
Yeah. So pads, but I found them quite gross. Back then, I'm 35 now. So back then when I was 16, I guess maybe for 15, I actually can't remember. They were thick and heavy and they were like duvets.
A diaper. They were a nappy.
Let's get honest, they were a goddamn nappy. But then I really wanted to use tampons. I felt like that, it's like when you want to wear a bra for the first time, like your nipples are starting to grow or your breasts are starting to grow. And it's like, I want to wear a bra, even though you don't need it, It's like you just
still
want
a bit of air
like
gap in there.
It's total air gap. Like do you have triple A's? Anyway, and so I tried the applicator, which it just hurt, and I couldn't get the angle right, and Yeah, I was doing definitely gymnastics, trying to get it in, the leg like straight up, opening up the booklet and being like, well, she's squatting, but it still hurts when I put it
The
in. Or
writing
like,
in the booklet, the instructions are so small. You need a microscope just to read it.
leg up on the toilet. And I remember mum asking me, but not wanting her to be there when I was trying to do that, obviously. She was like, just do this, love, do that. And I'm like, it's still not working. And eventually I got to use a tampon, which felt, like I had succeeded in my mission, which felt great.
Had freedom.
Yeah, totally. Goodbye, duvet. And I guess as time went on, period products have evolved as well, right? So for the last 3 years, I would say 3.5 years, I've used period underwear. And I've used a cup once or twice when I've been surfing. But period underwear, I love. And like, to be honest, don't judge me, love the feeling of feeling my blood like flowing down and out. Like,
it's a great feeling.
It is. And some people be like, oh God, that's disgusting. And like, fair enough, or that's fine. But it's like, I know that this part of me is leaving my body how it's meant to. There's nothing actually holding my vagina muscles together or sucking them or pulling them. And I found as soon as I went to period underwear, I actually didn't get cramping. It was like, finally, my uterus can actually relax. My vaginal walls can actually just relax and soften and like do the process they're meant to. It's essentially the closest thing to free bleeding in the modern world. So yeah, that's what I've been using for the last 3.5 years.
I love it. And you're so right about the contraction of the uterus and the vaginal canal, and how that needs to hold things like cups and tampons in place. It's so interesting. Like, when you look at the history of menstrual cycle products, and a lot of people don't realize, like, the first cup was developed in like 1888. So like, it's been around for a really long time. Obviously it was made out of very different material. They used to make tampons out of sticks wrapped in rags and used to insert them. Like, that was the very first original tampon we're talking like back to the Egyptian era, like a long time ago.
Wow, love this knowledge.
Yeah, there's some very interesting, if you get deep into a Google search, there's some very interesting images out there on the web. But encyclopedia.com or .org, I think it is now. But it's so fascinating how over time more and more people have started to really recognize that there's so many other options to just one option. You don't have to, it's not like you're dating a man and that you're monogamous. You can only have one type of menstrual product. Like, you can be the dirty slut and have as many partners as you want, when it comes to menstrual products. And you're right. I love that you mentioned that it's the closest thing to free bleeding in the modern world. And I want to talk about that feeling of menstrual blood, leaving through the cervix, through the vaginal canal, maybe touching your labia and exiting your body. Can you describe what that feels like? And I'm asking you to do this because some people have never, and I know you would give a great description. It's like, describe to me what arousal fluid feels like. Is that a lot of people have never felt this, or they're afraid, or they have fear or shame still in what that actually could feel like. And I think the reason I'm asking you to share is that the more women can connect with what things feel like as they're leaving, like, so menstruation, menstruation is made up of blood, discharge, cervical mucus, all the stuff, is that's going to connect you more with the feeling of being pregnant and entering the birth portal and entering, labor, and what's actually happening through your vagina, because you've had previous experience of what it actually feels like. So what does it feel like for you, menstruating and knowing that you've got this leaving your body?
It feels freeing. It actually feels, so the description of the actual feeling feels like,
I'm sorry, I'm having a little laugh because I'm like, she's on day 520.
Yeah, I'm like, what is it?
It's so long. It's like, oh yeah, 2 weeks ago. It felt
I know.
Sorry, I'm teasing you.
It's a feeling of a release. It's like when you take a big exhale and there's pressure that is released, and this is pressure in the form of a liquid that is released from your vagina.
Like a big shit.
I literally
That's
had
what
that
I'm
in my
thinking
mind.
of.
I'm like, it's kind of a poo feeling, like a good
is.
poo feeling.
Yep.
Leaving out your vagina. Yeah, I feel like it's I ain't got poetry for you today. That's it.
It's that I can also, it's a sensation.
Totally.
That same sensation of like, you know, I've been at yoga years ago. Like I've been practicing for 12 years or whatever. And I've been at yoga and been like, holy shit, did I just get my period?
Yes.
And then you walk to the bathroom and then your body's like, psych, cervical mucus. And
Yeah,
you're just like so excited, you're just wet, right? And you're like, God, do I need toilet paper for this? Or like, is a wipe enough? And it's that same feeling of that dropping into like the area of your entrance of your vulva and then in the labia, depending on the makeup of your yoni. It's that same kind of sensation. And I think that if women can feel into what that feels like with their cervical mucus, they can bring a better attention to maybe wanting to explore that with their menstruation if they are people who use tampons or cups. So
totally.
thanks for reminiscing with me.
And I think, yeah, I think it's something to point out here as well is like, don't be afraid to feel your own fluid, you know, because I think because it's blood, it's like, oh no, gross, can't feel that. But when we have sex, and this is just, you know, a part of my work, it's like, oh, we can like touch our partner's semen or our woman's cervical mucus or fertile mucus. We can, I'm going to say it, but like we can drink it, we can play with it, we can whatever. But as soon as it comes to our blood,
fluid,
it's like
different orgasmic fluid. Sometimes it's involved depending on the type of sex you're having.
Urine, spit, like all of those things. And yet when it comes to blood, it's in our own body's liquid, in our own knickers. It's like, oh no, I don't want to feel that. But yesterday you were happily like playing around with semen or
following someone else's semen.
You said it.
I'm happy to put it out there. It happens. People do it, you know. This is the real life.
Absolutely. So I think, you know, just asking yourself how, if I'm happy to do this, why aren't I happy to feel my own blood? I'm not asking you to drink it or, you know, whatever. But it's like, if I'm scared of just feeling it being released out of my vulva, why am I scared of that? Yet I'm happy to do ... I think that's kind of a cool exploration and question.
Yeah, I love that. I'm always like, kids pick their boogers, look at them, occasionally might eat them, or they flick them off, or they wipe them on the carpet or whatever. You know, like we have as adults lost a lot of that inquisitive nature. And I'm always like, if you experience a clot, like you need to feel that. What's the texture of the clot? Is it calcified? Is it hard? Is it mushy like a jellyfish? You know, what that feels like. And I love encouraging people, Mel, that, you know, even if it's menstrual underwear, just dab your finger in it and place it on your forehead, like anoint yourself. And
totally.
A lot of people don't realize that the two most richest sources of stem cells are the umbilical cord that the baby has with it for life or for its internal womb life, and then menstrual blood, healthy menstrual blood. And if we think that's dirty, stem cells are life.
Yeah.
We pay a lot of money for stem cell research. And I tell you what, right now being pregnant, and I would sure you would agree, like I'm missing access to my stem cells.
Yeah, totally.
Like I've had cuts or burns and I've popped a little bit of my menstrual blood on
Oh my gosh, I love that.
You know,
I mean, we do that with breast milk. Like when my baby's had a cut or a rash or whatever, I'm just like, squirt, squirt, like put that on. It's so true. Like why put that in your toolkit. But why don't we do that with our blood? It's so true. I really love that.
Yep. So if you're freaking out listening to this, I challenge you. We challenge you. Could you touch your menstrual blood? And I think a great start is if someone uses a menstrual cup, like pour that over. It's kind of like if you're freaking out about having period sex, do it in the shower. It's a great place to start. If you're freaking out about like menstrual blood going everywhere, but you do want to connect with it in some way, like place it on your hand, pour it on your belly or on your boobs whilst you're in the shower. You know, rinse off very, very quickly, but at least it's a start. You know, it's initiating.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I just think the biggest thing is start small. And like, if you freak out, let yourself freak out. Being like, oh God, I've never done this before. Like, allow that part of you to be there, because the more you lean into it and stretch yourself around connecting to your body, the easier it will become. You know, start off small, love the menstrual cup idea, and then, and then anoint yourself 2 months later or whatever, you know, like, you don't have to go fully into a blood mask.
Totally. Like, you don't have to rip your Band-Aid. You're not a student in school where I make them do that in the first semester. But I think it's important, because take time. You've got probably another 12 opportunities in that one calendar year to explore that same thing. So I'm always like, this isn't a hare race. This is a tortoise race. If this is really something you're like evolving into, like, take your time with it. Yeah.
Agree.
Like, slow, steady first dates.
Absolutely.
Some people love to just rip it right off. There's no conversation. It's just right to the kitchen or the bedroom or whatever you want to call it.
Depending on what your intention is, then yes.
Exactly. Intention is everything. But I think this is a great segue into like, how in the past have you really loved honoring your bleed? And I think this is a really great question to you, because I can imagine how many ways, I know you honor sensuality, sexuality, connecting with pleasure. So knowing that connecting and honoring a menstrual bleed can also be pleasure filled. How do you, or how have you in the past, you know, honored your bleed, and what are you looking forward to doing when your bleed arrives back for the very first time?
Do you know what? I'm going to answer the last bit first.
Yes, please.
I am so excited. So I lived on a bit of land. I'm so excited to get witchy and bleed right into the land for my first bleed after becoming a mum, and just like really honoring like Pachamama and like doing something really ritualistic as a bleeding mama for the first time. So I'm so looking forward to doing that. Hopefully it's not raining, but that's what I'm looking forward to.
You got there with an umbrella.
Yeah, totally. I will bleed into the earth. What I've done in the past. So yes, I'm a huge advocate. As you know, like, I used to be a menstrual cycle coach as well, and definitely dived into a lot of the menstrual cycle world before becoming a sex coach. So, I mean, my favorite thing to do, so I'd like to do two things. One is like solo session of actually like really connecting to my sensuality and my body, like doing a breast massage practice, just really connecting into like the sensitivity and the tenderness of my body is such a beautiful way to enter my winter. It's like, I'm here for you. I love you. If I'm experiencing pain, doing a womb massage, but just like having my uterus's back. Like, I've got you, here for you. Like, let's move through this together. Slowing down, like, huge rest advocate, and just, really respecting the space that my body needs to bleed. That's in an ideal world. I don't, let's like also be realistic. Sometimes I have meetings or events when I've started bleeding, and it's like, cool, I'm going to do the best I can here. That may look like doing some breath work on the way to an event, or just, again, placing my hand on my uterus and being like, okay, like, this is 2 hours. I'm here for you. I've got your back. I'm just going to do the bare minimum, but we're going to still show up. Okay, baby, like, you and me, let's go.
We got this.
Yeah, we can do this. And obviously, the food I eat, the exercise I'm doing, getting into nature, just plugging into the grounding ingredients: food, nature, breath, body, movement, that kind of stuff. And the last bit is having my partner on board. So I love letting him know when I am entering my winter. And he shows up in the most beautiful ways, bringing me specific tea for that time, or making me breakfast in bed, or just kind of giving me permission. Sometimes I need somebody to tell me, to say like, babe, like, slow down, or don't worry, I've got this, or like, save that for a couple of days. So yeah, I love being like, babe, I've just started bleeding. I'd love you to ... or I need ... And I think it's important to communicate with our men, if you are in a hetero relationship, because they have never experienced a period. They don't know what cramping or bleeding feels like. So I think it's important to say, like, I need some space, or I need you to do dinner tonight, or I would love it if you ... So yeah, that's kind of how I honor my bleed in my winter.
What a great way to prep men and your men for what is needed through pregnancy and postpartum too. And
Absolutely.
I think a lot of us think that menstruation is really in isolation. That we just focus on the menstrual part or the menstruation itself. But our menstrual experience is preparing us for all of the future cycle transition experiences. And, prepping your partner, if you are a hetero, into support through menstruation is only going to see a positive turn when it comes to pregnancy and postpartum, and like being able to say, hey, look, also as a woman and a menstruator, I need some support. Like, could you help me do this? Or could you do this for me? Or could you bring me this? That would be really helpful.
Absolutely. And it's on us. You can't build resentment or be pissed off at your partner when you haven't communicated what you need. Like, I love taking a bit of self accountability here to go, oh, they're not doing that. And it's like, well, did you communicate that? Because they ain't mind readers. So it really is on us to build that confidence, to communicate in a way that can invite them into the experience as well. Like, it feels so good. And when they do something, it's like, thank you so much. I feel so fucking loved by you. I feel so seen by you. Thank you for caring about me in this time. And that kind of appreciation only breeds more of that, and allowing them or inviting them to show up in that way for you.
Yes, I love that. And ultimately, men love supporting. Like, that's the role of like, I've got this. Like, I am the mountain, as my best friend said. Like, I'm the mountain. I'm solid. I've got the groundwork here. You just be the air that floats around me. And I'm like, oh, I like that.
Love it.
So powerful. And I could literally chat with you all day. But we are pretty much out of time. So I do have a final question I'd love to ask you to roll off from where we were. But how can people find you and connect with you to learn more about what you do as a certified holistic sex coach, if they want to connect with more of your work?
Instagram, baby. Hit me up. No, my Instagram handle is Melissa at Melissa Vranges. I'm not going to spell it out. It's a hard one to spell out, but just, you'll have it in the show notes.
I will.
Find me there. I share lots of information there. And then you can sign up to my newsletter, which is where I go a little bit more deeper and more personal with that community as well. So Instagram me.
Well, yes, the links will all be in the show notes. And I love following you on Instagram. You're like one of the first, like the people that come up the most, and like the first four, like you're one of those people for me.
Oh, love.
Now, final question to wrap up is, we normally ask the question of like, what are 3 things you wish you had have known when you started menstruating that you know today? But I'd love to know, what are your like non-negotiable tools or products? Obviously, menstrual underwear is going to be one of them. When you're menstruating, like, what are some things that you're like, oh God, I ran out of this bleed. I need to order that for next bleed. What are some of the products that are non-negotiable for you that you love to have supporting you through your menstruation?
Gosh, great question. So definitely, yes, period underwear for sure. I'm going to say an oil. Like, I love body oils. So a womb oil is absolutely my go-to.
What's your favorite ingredient in a womb oil?
Rose, probably.
Ooh, rose oil. Like rose hip or rose oil?
Rose oil.
So there's so many great oils. I had to ask.
I've got this like specific womb love one from actually someone in Australia who makes like flower oils. So yes, that. And I'm going to say something like a food. I'm going to say like a cacao or chocolate, or like something that brings pleasure into my period. So yeah, something sensual on the lips.
Ooh, I like that. Sensual on the lips, better on your hips.
Jab straight.
Oh, and it's so nice to know that things can be kept really simple, and you don't need a lot, to make your menstruation honorable and lovable. And you can do that living in your caravan, traveling around, camping,
absolutely,
flying over the globe, or at home. So
yes,
thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. I always love chatting to you. What a treat.
It is, and I'm so grateful. So thanks so much, honey.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for tuning into every episode of the Well Woman podcast. For everything we mentioned in today's episode, you can find this in the show notes over at wellsome.com/podcast. If this episode excited you, please hit follow on Spotify, which means all of my episodes will pop up in your feed weekly so you never miss a weekly drop. I'd love you to leave a review on Apple Podcasts too. Love this episode? Come and follow me over on Instagram at wellsome_Gemmalee. Say hi and share what you've taken away from this episode with me. Now, is there a bestie, sister, or a friend who you know who might be fed up, frustrated, and confused with their cycles? Are they ready to join you in awakening their cyclical essence too? Well, take a screenshot of this podcast episode, share it on your socials, email it, text it, or any way you need to get it to them. So together we can all live in flow, harmony, and balance with our cycles. Now, until next time, beautiful, get connected, listen to your body, and remember, body confidence all begins with living in tune with your menstrual cycle.